Normally, for those of you who join us on a regular occurrence, I would normally hand over to Alison. Alison's had a diary clash today, so it's myself and Vince. Vince works in our international team, who are taking the session today. So let me have a look and see who's all on the call. So I'm just going to go alphabetically by first name. Oh, Alistair, just on cue. Alistair, do you want to unmute yourself? I'll quickly run through what those questions were. So really what we're looking to kind of discuss today is your experience of the Bounce Back Loan Scheme. If you have applied for it, were you successful? If you haven't applied for it, was there a reason you haven't applied for it? Also looking at how you and or your organisation are looking at your kind of return to work measures to allow a safe working environment for yourself, clients and customers. Another question was, what do you think the key challenges are going to be for you and your customers when we get the okay to begin to reopen? And then the final one was just a bit of discussion about the travel. So they're potentially discussing a flight to London in June and a single flight per day. So it was just to kind of get your ideas on whether you think there's an actual appetite for travel for businesses to be travelling in the future. So Alistair, do you want to unmute yourself and just I mean, if there's also anything else that you kind of want to discuss, then please feel free. These are not exactly what we need to be discussing today, but it's just to kind of give us an understanding of some of these topics, so that if there are still kind of issues out there, then we can be taking them back to Scottish Chambers, British Chambers, and of course government. So how are things with you, Alistair?
Okay, thanks. Yeah, I haven't I haven't done my homework. But yeah, last minute dog walk a few minutes ago. I haven't applied for the bounce back loan. I'm reluctant to take on any debt. I think a lot of businesses will be the same. And I thought about it. I mean, there's a certain appeal to it, but as I said, I'm reluctant to take on debt if I wasn't planning to do it anyway. And I've been trying to think of circumstances that would make it worthwhile me doing it, and I haven't got any yet. If there was something I thought was going to shift the needle for me that this money would do, I would do it, but I could potentially see myself just using it for the sake of using it, and then not having anything that was part of my plan anyway. So I mean, I'm lucky in terms of self-employment, because although I've been hit hard, very hard, my wife is she's a NHS employee, so she's got a salary, so there's a salary coming in, albeit a part-time one. So we're kind of falling back on savings and so on at the minute. But in terms of prep, I am just looking ahead to. I've just actually been sending an email to somebody that there was a job I was about to do just before the lockdown kicked in, and I was I was in a position where it was me that actually cancelled it because I had a bit of a sore throat, and I was thinking, should I, shouldn't I, and I erred on the side of caution, and the job didn't go ahead. And then I think 2 days later, lockdown kicked in. So I'm looking at trying to reschedule that. Thankfully, the client's still up for that. But so it's just trying to plan ahead, look at how the diary is going to be looking in whether it's 4, 5, 6 weeks, and just make some plans for that. And looking at how I can change things. I mean, we've all been looking at how we're changing things anyway, but just looking at how I can change stuff for the better and move stuff to a digital basis that should have been a digital basis anyway. I've got quite strong views on the whole restart thing. I'll not go into the politics, but I find the whole Westminster steer on this very disturbing. I don't think we're anything like ready to come out of lockdown. I think what's happening in Seoul and what's happening in Germany with cases starting to climb again are a pretty stark reminder of that. And I think I'm very mindful of the quote. I think it was Nicola Sturgeon said something like, "We can restart the economy, we can rebuild an economy. We can't bring back the dead." And I think there's a lot to be said for that. And I know it's hard, but I think, you know, there really is a bigger picture to be taken account of here. So I'm not at all in favour of rushing back into this, even though it is hitting me. But I do feel that a lot of people will be. And I think in terms of travel and in terms of opening travel options up again, I think it's something that's very, very fraught with risk. So anyway, that's me. That's where I'm at. So, but you know, I'm not saying. I'm very conscious that I'm in, as I said, a slightly more fortunate position because of my wife bringing in a salary. A lot of people won't be in that position, but so I think it's I don't want to be trite about what I'm saying. So, but I'm feeling the pain, and I'm really keen to get back as quickly as I can, but I just don't think it's something that we can rush into. So,
yeah. No.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Next.
Sorry to interrupt, Sarah.
Oh, sorry.
Can I just ask, Alistair, just for those that don't know, would you be able to tell us what business you're into?
All right, sorry. Yeah, I am. My business is Creative Mongrel, and I offer branding consultancy for small businesses. And that. Sorry, give me 2 seconds, please. Working from home. My daughter trying to get the other laptop out of the room as quietly as she could. Yeah, branding consultancy services. So
perfect. Thank you, Alistair.
Thank you. Okay, Chris, do you want to come in and actually before you sort of move on to any questions or anything else you want to add in, then yeah, just kind of say what your business is and what you actually do, because sorry, I'm sitting here and I know everybody who's in the room, so it's obviously easy for me to know what you're speaking about, but obviously not everybody else does. So it's a good point, Vince. Yeah, Chris, if you're able to unmute yourself.
Yeah, done.
Perfect. So how are things with yourself?
Yeah, very much along the same lines as Alistair. Very quiet. I'm a wedding. Well, I'm actually a full-time photographer, so I cover everything from weddings to commercial to headshots. So my business.
Chris, your microphone's not picking you up very well.
Oh, is that better?
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't know if it's because you're too far back.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, so my business has taken a huge hit. I'm a photographer with a studio as well, so I've obviously got overheads. I'm pretty much on the same boat as Alistair, quite wary of returning back too soon. Just in regards to just some of the questions that you've asked, though, I actually have applied for the bounce back loan through the TSB and was granted it, and it was in my account in less than 36 hours. So really good experience there, and really the reason I took it was because even though I had a lot of business in this year, it's transferred. A lot of the weddings, for example, have transferred to next year, and with the offer of the first payment going back next year, an extremely low interest rate, it was an attractive option. So I've taken it to sort of help me with my overheads, and also on that, I have been quite proactive in trying to cut down costs as well. So things like I've just managed to secure a quarter's rent holiday from my landlord, my residential, my business landlord who has been absolutely brilliant. I wasn't expecting him to come back with a yes, but they did come back with a yes. So there's areas that I'm trying to cut down on as well. So I'm trying to do my bit to make sure that there's a business to come back to. So in regards to work measures and allowing a safe working environment for clients and customers, obviously one of the big parts of my business is family portraits at the studio. So this week I've ordered a non-touch thermometer, and obviously I'll be filling in questionnaires for clients when we're allowed back. Of course, this is not something that I'm looking at in the immediate future, but when we are allowed back, I'm going to adopt a non-touch thermometer for people accessing the studio. Obviously, there's hand sanitizer there. I'll also be doing some form of tracing questionnaire to just get names and addresses, ask if anybody's had any symptoms, just like a tick box, very simple tick box, and see if anybody's had any symptoms or been in touch. Just pretty much like you would get asked if you were going to the GPs or a hospital. And then at least then, if something happens to myself or if one of my other clients become positive, then at least then there's some sort of tracing element. So that's something I've adopted. And then between each photo session, the place will get a really good clean down. So that's the measures that I've adopted or will be adopting once we go back to work, or we're allowed to go back to work. Personally, I can't see it being anytime soon, like Alistair's mentioned. I think hovering between 0.3 and 0.9 is far too near the one that everyone is worried about. And I think with the mixed messages that are going on, it's not going to be long before there's potentially a second spike. So quite concerned about that. Key challenges are really just going to be just managing whatever criteria is put in place to allow us to work safely. And I think that will only come when the time is right and the documentation is available for us to look at. I think my industry is probably going to be a lot later than a lot of the other sort of key industries. So I'm preparing for a longer sort of haul than many others. Again, for travel, it's not something I really do, so I've not really got anything to add to that really. So that's where I am at the minute. I'm just being very proactive with completely updating my website. I've spent about 7 weeks on it so far, and plan on really getting it tip-top shape and ready for the launch when we're finally allowed back in work. That's me.
Perfect. Thanks, Chris. It's really good to hear that you've had a good experience with TSB for the bounce back loan scheme. So that's good. Good to hear.
Can I just add one thing though? One thing I haven't had a good experience on is the self-employment grant, because I've been obviously self-employed. I've been handing in all my taxes, but I invested about £70,000 into my studio 2 years ago. So for the last 2 years, I've been showing losses, which means now I'm not eligible for the self-employment grant, which is a really big disappointment. So I just wonder if that's something that maybe somebody can take back and maybe have. I know they're obviously not going to be looking at cases, but there's a way of saying, look, obviously investment has gone into the business because, as you know, building your own business. I mean, I've not taken a wage for the last 2 years. Everything I've earned has gone back into that business, and I just feel like I'm being unfairly punished for trying to grow my business.
Yeah. I certainly know that you're not alone in that. Investing in your business and not having a profit, therefore not being able to get part of this the self-employed grant. So it is certainly something that we as a chamber are taking back and feeding back in. There are unfortunately still some people that are falling through the gaps. So the more we know about them, the more we can feed back in and hopefully try and get some other kind of support.
Yeah, thank you anyway.
But yeah, thank you, Chris. Okay, who's next? Lisa. Do you want to unmute yourself, Lisa, and come on in?
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, fine. Doing all right. Seems like a long time we've been doing this, but getting through it. Sort of going mad slowly, but yeah, we're here. For everybody who doesn't know me, I'm Lisa from Castle Water in Blairgowrie, and well, I haven't had to apply for the bounce back loan at all because I'm employed by the company at Castle Water, but we have been all working remotely since the very, very beginning. Our CEO has been actually an excellent employer and made sure that everybody was at home immediately, whether it be with laptops or if folk actually took their computers and things home. We have been very, very lucky. Again, we're classed as the key workers because it's water that we deal with. We've got to be open to make sure that people's services and things are fine and they're not having any issues. And we've spent a lot of time trying to make sure that people are okay and not to worry about bills and money and things like that. We've actually put a big emphasis on this to ensure that people don't feel that they need to be sort of paying us, setting up direct debits and things like that. We've made a massive sort of emphasis on this to make sure that we'll let everyone know. So hopefully at the end of it, we'll be able to help them sort of going forward, and it would look better for our company as well, obviously. I'm been very lucky in the situation at home. My husband, on the other hand, hasn't. And we're still fully paid because we're working remote, but he has had a terrible time, to be perfectly honest with you, with the company. He's like in a construction type company. It's a sawmill, and the man has no intentions of furloughing anybody off. But the guys up there, there's maybe about 10 of them altogether, and don't feel that they can actually social distance in their job because of the nature of the job. And he's left them unpaid, basically, the folk that haven't gone into work during this coronavirus. So again, lucky for my job, I'm here and I'm still working, but poor Jason didn't have that chance, and he can't even apply for anything either because he's still working for them, you know, but not actually working physically there. It's been absolutely terrible on that hand. On the other note, basically, the way things are sort of turning just now, I don't think it's probably the right time to come out of lockdown and things. I do agree with the Scottish Government sort of keeping us at home and staying that we need to sort of stay and keep ourselves, our families and the NHS safe. My employer he's not got any plans for the near future to put folk back into offices or call centres. Because I think the challenge may be particularly in our call centres at Castle Water. I mean, we have 300 people in one building and things. So I think he's really going to need to keep them sort of remote for quite some time because it's going to be quite difficult to have that social distancing that they think would be safe for everyone. So I think, if anything, he's going to have to take his time, probably a bit like yourself, Chris, and your sort of company. It's going to take time for people to sort of get back, you know, to kind of any kind of normality within the office and call centre environment. As far as travelling is concerned, I mean, I think that depends on how sort of the local authorities are going to manage that. You know, how many people are they going to allow onto public transport so that folk are social distancing and not standing or sitting sort of too close to one another. So I think it's really just a matter of waiting to see how this is going to escalate, you know. But at the moment, I think we're still all a wee bit sort of, we should still be at home, I think. I don't know sort of everyone's views, but I think probably for the safety of everyone, it would be better. And if we stay in our own sort of areas, maybe not so much fly into London and things quite at this moment in time, I don't think, because they've still got a very, very high percentage of folk with the virus or getting the virus or dying from the virus. So I think maybe having us separated for that little bit more time would be probably a little bit safer. But that's my thoughts.
Thank you. Lisa, just going back to Castle Water and obviously the kind of bigger organisations. So you've got your call centres and you've got your admin offices. I guess the guys on the road, so to speak, that, you know, deliver the water and service the machines? And are they, how is there a warehouse? Is there?
No one's going out meter reading or anything like that. We're asking our own customers to sort of come back with us by email for the meter reading, so we haven't got anyone going out. But if people need to go, and I mean, for example, if they had a burst pipe or so, Scottish Water and Castle Water still need someone to go out to look at that, to make sure that people's water supply is still safe. But again, there's enough social distancing. A person can go alone to check that. So it's not like there's like groups of people, but yes, there are still folk on the road for that type of thing. In an emergency, by the way, it's not just willy-nilly. I mean, folk that were on the road before are no longer sort of doing that. They're doing other aspects of the business at the moment. Our CEO, John's very, very strong about keeping his staff safe. And at least sort of once a fortnight, we've had sort of webinars like this with all 600 plus staff on, listening to what John's got to say, you know, about how he is absolutely adamant he's going to make sure that the staff are kept safe. So it's quite great. He's been a great employer for all of us. Definitely, he's good.
And have you had to furlough any members of staff as well, or are everybody?
He said that he was leaving that open to people who felt the need to be furloughed right throughout the country. I'm finding sort of in the Scottish team, there's maybe only 2 or 3 actually, believe it or not, that have been furloughed. And these are people, say, for example, if they're on their own just with kids in the house and they haven't got anyone else to sort of help them. Yeah. England, I'm not entirely certain, but there's not a lot of folk that have been furloughed just because they didn't want to be. But John left that open. He was quite happy to do that if they wanted it. But those who did, they've got it, and it's been fine. We were asked if we wanted to take holidays as well during this time, because when we come out of this, we're all going to be needed a little bit more. You know, I can imagine it's going to be sort of quite mad when this happens. But yeah, we're really just working, not as normal, but as normal as we can, basically. And we're still busy every day with our jobs.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Yeah.
Good. Okay. Thanks very much for that.
No worries.
Who are we on to? Marilyn. Do you want to unmute yourself and join us?
Hi there, good afternoon everybody. I hope you can't hear my neighbour hoovering above me at the moment. should have sent a memo. So I'm from the Service Design Academy. We're based at Dundee and Angus College. So we're not under the same types of pressures that people running their own businesses are. Although we are, we do have financial targets, and there are expectations that we run as a successful business. Right at the start of lockdown, we were like rabbits caught in the headlights. We pressed the panic button. We had developed accredited online training, but we wanted to get that out as quickly as possible. So for the first week or so, we were kind of real panicking about how we were going to get our training courses out online. And then we actually remembered that we're in the business of service design. We are actually in the business of understanding customers' needs and understanding user experience. So we put the foot completely on the brake, went back to our service design roots and conducted some extensive user research to find out what people actually wanted from our online courses, whether it's our professional development award or bespoke courses that we run for businesses. So we're very glad that we did that. We're offering at the moment a number of events and courses in partnership with other organisations so that people can experience what we do for the first time and also help us test delivering online training and deliver it well. So we've had the same key challenges as any business in adapting to remote working, but we're now actually understanding and being approached by potential training partners to support their move to the new normal, or the now normal, as we like to call it. Talking to one charity in particular, that's coming to mind, they're now starting to question their work practices. And I think this is happening in quite a number of organisations who are realising that working remotely is and can be, working from home can actually work. Another thing that's really come across talking to existing and new customers is that they're inspired by the pace of change that's been made, there's going to be a lot of challenge around physical and social distancing. We deliver training, we always have delivered training in 3 ways. On campus, and that's asking maybe 20 people from 20 different organisations to come and do a professional development award on campus. Our feeling is that regardless of what the guidelines and advice are, companies will be less inclined to let people travel long distances. So we think we'll probably be doing more on site with businesses to accommodate that. We'll definitely be delivering more online training. So it's interesting to hear your thoughts on travel, because it looks like we'll be the people that will be doing the travelling, maybe more, because organisations will want to send groups of colleagues away, well, so it's been a very challenging experience. I think we've all gone through our ups and downs in the team. It's a small team, there's only 6 of us, but we've managed to adapt to working from home quite well. All obviously under the umbrella of the college, which does give us support, but we're all learning, and this is an important thing, and listening to all your stories is really important, is learning what organisations and the challenges that they've got. When we come out of lockdown, organisations will have the same challenges they've always had. They'll have new challenges, and they will have opportunities that have now been identified from ways that we've had to change the way that we work.
Thanks, Marilyn. How have you found the online training and sessions and events going? Are they?
There's a lot of work, Sarah, into service design. Is all about slapping. It's not all about slapping post-it notes on the wall. So that's only really a very small part of it. But that's what people get out of workshops, is that lovely collaborative working, leaning over one another, working in groups, then coming together, presenting. So how do you do that online? So the team have been doing a lot of research onto the best software packages to use. This morning we were redesigning we're starting to think about redesigning our website, and we were doing the post-it note thing online. It's fiddly, it's like it's a new skill, it's something you've got to learn how to do, but it is possible. We've learned from online delivery. Sarah, you could run a masterclass for us on. We need to have a chat about how to run an online session. So I've taken something away today about how you went through how to navigate Teams. I think everyone makes the assumption that everyone knows what they're doing, and I'm always struggling because you're either on Teams or on Zoom, and everything's in a slightly different place. So we do quite a lot of dress rehearsal that we wouldn't have done previously. With a training session, the guys would just come in, our consultants would go in and they'd have it all prepared and they'd deliver it. But there's a lot of work has to be done in the background. So it's building up the skill sets for us too. And then we'll be sharing those skills with our students and our delegates, because it's all about learning by doing. We're not a chalk and talk training company. We're all about everybody learning and doing at the same time. So it's sharing in those skills so they can take them away and undertake user research or prototyping. So yeah, work in progress.
I think there's certainly a lot of new skills being learnt at the moment. I do keep on saying to people, we need to update our CVs with all these skills, YouTube stars and webinar hosts and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, I think it's a good, it's obviously been different for a lot of people, but people have had to upskill themselves to continue. So yes, thank you very much, Marilyn. Okay, I think it was Stuart. Yeah, Stuart, are you still there?
Yeah, hi, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can.
Great, thank you, Sarah, just for two things. One, for making me go last and have the graveyard shift here, especially as with someone with the same initial as me. I thought you might start at the other end of the alphabet for once, but hey ho, I forgive you. Thanks again just for this opportunity to chat to folk. I really do value it. This is probably the fourth or fifth time during lockdown I've joined in with the chat, so it's really supportive to have everybody around. So thanks for that. I work in mainly in education. Our company, there's two in our company, and we're called Cooperative Learning Consultants. Marilyn, you just used the phrase chalk and talk. So we strive to make sure that learning and teaching in schools does not follow the chalk and talk model. Our approach is very much, as you could imagine, cooperation. So we try and help teachers to get kids to work together, essentially, to achieve better. Just to answer some of the questions that you've given, we applied for a bounce back loan, which was a very positive experience in the sense that it was very easy to apply for. We did it through our Bank of Scotland account. Very easy to apply for, and then within 2 days, the money appeared in our account. It feels to me like a bit more of a reasonable source of income, in the sense that you can only apply for 25% of your business's turnover, whereas the CBIL, which we also applied for, which was a completely opposite experience in terms of it being really slow. The things that we were asked were really laborious. I had to give my personal finances as well as my company's. It took 3 weeks and I didn't hear anything back from the bank as well. Just an awful experience. And when the bounce back loans came on, it more or less said your CBIL has been cancelled. So that time spent applying for that was essentially just wasted. But thankfully, the bounce back process was so much easier. One of the biggest concerns that we have is, as someone touched on earlier, I think it was Alistair, just in terms of taking on more debt. We already have a loan for our company when we set our company up, and way back at the start, the Bank of Scotland advertised repayment holidays on these loans, which have still not gone through. So every time I've contacted and spoken to someone at the bank, they've said that's still a work in progress. That's still a work in progress. So that's my biggest concern, is that this chunk of money is still coming off our business account through this time. Interesting what Alistair was saying about taking on more debt through the bounce back loan. We kind of feel that working in education and the likelihood that schools are not going to be fully back until August, we were best to go for it. Also, the month of May is probably normally our most profitable month, because secondary schools have kids off for study leave and things like that. Schools have a lot more flexibility in terms of time, so any training and things happen in May. So of course we're missing out on that big time this year. So the terms of the loan are quite reasonable. I think 12 months interest free with no repayments, and then 5 years at 2.5% a year to pay that back. So that's been quite good. We've also gone through with the job retention scheme, and we've had some of that money come through. We're a company who pay PAYE and dividends, so we're only getting a small amount from the furlough scheme, but it's another little thing that's just helping us a wee bit, which is positive. I think for me, what we can do during furlough in terms of our business is my biggest concern, in the sense that is me sending an email to a school to say obviously we can't offer the training, because we have dates in the calendar so that we planned months ago. So me getting in touch with them and saying we're going to rearrange, does that count as business promotion? So in one sense I think of course it's not. So you can tweet things and you can email people, but then in another, when you look at it in a different way, I just think we shouldn't be doing anything at all. So that, I think, especially when there's potential for the schools to go back in some shape or form in June. I know that nobody's really said that, but it could be the case that there's a staged return in the middle to the end of June. We would want to start engaging with people with a view to doing work in August. We could go to schools and meet, for example, if some staff are in. So yeah, I think that is the biggest concern for us is what we can actually do during the furlough.
Thanks very much, Stuart. Jen, I know you're. I know I missed you. But you would already passed Jay by the time you were able to join us. Jen, do you want to unmute yourself and come in?
Yeah, good afternoon all. Sorry, I was a wee bit late. I was on a client call that ran over. So for those of you that don't know me, I'm Jen Stewart. I head up the office for Johnson Carmichael Business Advisors and Chartered Accountants in Dundee. So again, just the kind of theme of what we've been busy with really is assisting our clients with the various support measures, loans, grant applications. The self-employed income support grant opens up tomorrow with HMRC. So again, we've been sort of piloting a few trials with that to actually see how that will work for our clients, and actually looking at I guess the specifics as to who can claim and the ins and outs of has your business been adversely affected now, as opposed to looking ahead to think, well, it might be impacted in November, because actually our kind of reading of what that legislation is saying is or the guidance is saying is actually it's have you adversely been impacted now. So yeah, that's been kind of keeping us busy. I suppose also looking at the new coronavirus Scotland bill that has been placed in Parliament yesterday, that's looking to, and I'm sorry if any of this has already been covered off. No, I see you shaking heads. Okay, good. In terms of just some of the further amendments, I mean, I think we're talking about education. So I suppose as parents that are paying for accommodation for students when they're not actually able to stay in that accommodation at the moment because they're all at home, there has been, a move to actually include that parents can actually, or individuals can get out of the contracts to pay for the ongoing accommodation in the current academic year and potentially the next academic year. So that obviously will, on both sides, it will be a helpful benefit for those that are paying for the accommodation that are not using it, but it'll be to the detriment of the landlords that are essentially either the universities, colleges or the private rental sector. It's not through yet, but it is in Parliament. The other thing that of particular of note have seen is just a bit of help for individuals in terms of they have raised the petition levels if a creditor was going to raise an action against an individual to make them bankrupt. Just now, the sum that they could do that for is £3,000, but they're going to increase that limit to £10,000. And they're also looking to, there's a sort of a shorter bankruptcy process called a minimal asset procedure, and just now for somebody to access that they need to have debts of £17,000. They're actually increasing that ceiling to £25,000 and they're removing the application fee, so there's a cost of £90. So if somebody's on a benefit only, then they'll be able to access that for free. And if they basically had some form of income, then they would be able to access that for, the cost of £50. the other sort of measure for full bankruptcy processes is that they'll reduce the cost of that to 150 down from 200. So they are actually, this new bill's looking to just put some measures in place to assist individuals that are actually in debt, and that really supplements the previous coronavirus Scotland bill that indicated that they would increase a breathing space period for individuals that were in debt as a kind of particular cause, or if they've been impacted due to the coronavirus pandemic, and that was to give them a 6-month breathing space so creditors couldn't take any action against them. So for individuals, sole traders and things, basically I see these as being welcome moves for those, you know, those individuals and the people that fall into that category if there is actually any creditor pressure. So yeah, that's really what's been kind of occupying me of late.
That's great. Thanks very much, Jen. Jen, I mean, I don't know if there is any kind of advice that you can give to Stuart and his, you know, obviously furloughed. What can you do within the business? What can't you do? You know, is there anything that you're able to advise on?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's probably better if, you know, Stuart wants any of that advice, he just comes to us directly as opposed to trying to, you know, just second guess in a kind of open forum. With the furlough and the job retention scheme guidance, obviously we'll see what we've seen what the Chancellor has said today, that are looking to extend that now out until October. But looking at employers actually bearing some of that cost from August. So if they're looking at employers bearing some cost, does that also then mean that they're going to, you know, I guess reduce some of the restrictions that are on place on some of these employees when they are furloughed? But the guidance seems to be quite clear at the moment that if you are furloughed, you can't do anything to market or preserve your business for an ongoing, you know, while you are furloughed, because you are claiming the benefit from the furlough scheme. So there doesn't appear to have been anything new that really has been introduced in terms of really what they've already said in that respect. It's very challenging.
Yeah, no, thanks very much. I'll maybe connect the two of you via email just to I think there was a few kind of specific things that you sort of mentioned there, Stuart. So I'm going to ask Vince. He's popped off my screen, but he is still lurking around somewhere. Vince, are there any questions, any comments in the chat that we get people in?
I think most of it, Alistair was commenting a few times regarding, you know, if the situation hasn't adversely affected us, then there's likely going to be rioting in the street. And it'd be good to see what the feedback is as we go through the weeks. If anybody else has come across this quote, this thing, has it adversely affected you? Part of that, no. I think because we're such a small group, we've managed to get everything else. That's been good.
I think just to add, you know, the point that Alistair's made, that, you know, essentially, if you feel that, you know, you have been adversely affected, I suppose my best advice on that note would be that document absolutely everything. So if you're making grant claims, document exactly why you have made the grant claim. Don't just assume it's because, well, it's because of coronavirus. Document exactly why coronavirus has impacted your business and your ability to generate any income from it. Because if and when HMRC do look to audit and review anything, if you can provide documentation for all your decision making, that will basically, you know, I guess help substantiate your reasons for making such applications. And that's the advice that we're giving to our clients, is document your reasoning for absolutely everything.
Yeah, now I'm just shamelessly plugging other events. So if anybody hasn't seen our website, we're running more webinars this week. Tonight we're running a guide to health and safety in the workplace. Tomorrow is our home workout, isn't it? Which would be interesting.
It is. I'll maybe just explain the sessions tonight and tomorrow. So tonight we're hearing from Alexander's Community Development, who are currently doing webinars around social distancing, sanitisation, general health and safety to get able to assist businesses back in to the workplace, regardless of, I guess, what kind of business you are. You know, it's not just about kind of construction, manufacturing, all that sort of stuff, you know, looking at offices and admin staff and all that. So we've also got the health and safety advisor from Dover, Mark Husband. He's going to be speaking to us about all the things that Dover have put into force in the last, I guess, kind of 6 to 8 weeks. He showed me through some of the photos last night, and what they've done is pretty impressive. You know, it's really, you know, they've taken it down to the fine, very fine details. But what he has said is that a lot of staff have said they actually feel safer going to work than they do going out for a walk or out to Tesco's or anything like that. So they've made a really strong and safe working environment for their employees. Tomorrow we've got Claire Semple from Semple Sports Therapies. Claire's a massage therapist and sports therapist, and she's going to come on with us and do a bit of a home workout. So you know, a lot of people are in the house, they're working from home. You know, posture's not exactly great when you're sitting at desks that are not made for, I certainly know my desk was never made for somebody to work from, but that's just the way it is. So she's going to kind of go through some steps, you know, look at kind of postural moves, and do a little bit of a kind of workout session as well. No equipment's needed. It's just to get the heart rate going, get your adrenaline going, and just, you know, kind of get a better feeling around yourself. It's over lunchtime as well, so it's a good reason to take a break. And I will hand over to you, Vince, to explain Thursday's webinar.
Thursday's webinar is all about export finance and looking at the other alternatives that we have. So we've got CBILS and we've got bounce back loans, which is great. But exporters also have an opportunity to take advantage of the UK export finance schemes that they've got to help fund exportation, or to look at insurance policies that they've got on offer as well. So we'll have Alistair Macmillan from UKIF, and we'll have Paul Hunt from the Royal Bank of Scotland, who's an international trade specialist. We've told Paul that there's a good chance that anybody that does have any questions regarding CBILS or bounce back, we will say you can jump on and ask the question. Paul should be prepared to provide either an answer or signpost you to the right place. So that might be handy if RBS is your partner. Just before we wrap up, Chris has made a very good point in regards to, I guess, the split between England and Wales and Scotland, and if one moves faster than the other, is that going to cause an issue with furlough and being funded? It certainly dominated most of our morning calls, and something we'll keep an eye on.
Thanks, Vince. Sorry, Alistair's obviously put a comment there as well. Two separate supermarket checkout workers, one rather worried and scared about coming to work, and the other one happy to get back to work after 3 weeks furlough. So yeah, there are still you know, people going into work who don't feel safe, which you know, obviously should be picked up with the employer. So unless anybody has anything else they'd like to jump in with, and feel free to unmute yourself as well. You don't need to be invited in. You're all staying very quiet. Okay, fantastic. Well, look, thanks very much for joining us. As I've already said, you know, jump onto the website and have a look at the webinars. We've got some good webinars coming up next week as well, which will be going live in the next kind of 24-36 hours. So yeah, and then anybody else that, you know, you think these webinars may be good for, they're open to everybody. They're free. You don't have to be a chamber member to attend them. The only one that we're keeping for members at the moment is the coffee and cake networking on a Tuesday, which we'll be looking to kind of change over the next couple of weeks, and just you know, get a little bit more networking as people start to look at getting back to work anyway. So thanks very much for joining us, everybody, and we shall see you all soon.
Thanks, everybody.
See you later.
Bye.